A2HH Live. We are in the building. You already know what it is. Mike D. Cool. We over here, man. It's been a whole lot going on this week to even speak on, man. How are you today, sir?
Doing good, man. Nice.
What's
Smooth.
that?
Click like and subscribe to our page.
Yes, sir. Like and subscribe always. Welcoming everybody into the room. Thumbs up in the chat for everybody in the chat. We are going to go through some real quick sports talk. I know you had a couple of things that you wanted to express. I know we got Monday Night Football tonight. We're not going to hold you too long, but we do have some music to talk about. Busta Rhymes has dropped an album. We finally got that double album from I Am, and we need to speak to that and speak to some of those possible issues that stopped it from happening the first time. And we had a little hip hop 50 in Atlanta this weekend during a whole Falcons game. So it's a lot to get to.
The Falcons actually won the game, which is a rarity. So,
well, you know what? Against the Saints, man, they have an incredible, I won't say an incredible record, but the fact that these teams have faced each other literally 109 times or 108 times, and they have now broken even. So the rivalry is the rivalry. Even when the Saints were good and we were terrible, we would still find a way to beat that team sometimes. And the fact that they've had Drew Brees over the years and we've had Matt Ryan, the fact that we're evened up is incredible in itself.
It is, because the best quarterback we've ever had is Matt Ryan. So
that's crazy. You think Matt Ryan's better than Vic? Statistically, he is.
I mean, he won an MVP, didn't he?
He did, and he went to the Super Bowl.
To the Super Bowl. So do I prefer Michael Vick? Yes. Is he better than Matt Ryan all time? Unfortunately not. We're just partial to Vick because he's black. He set the city on fire. He's in our age bracket. And, Michael Vick is pretty much the prototype for what most of these quarterbacks are now, because most quarterbacks now have to be able to run and throw, whether they're black or white. Look at what Josh Allen and Jalen did yesterday.
I remember Vic being the cheat code on Madden. Like when you got Vic on Madden, you literally could just run across the screen and beat everybody. The scrambling was crazy with Vic. Now Matt Ryan, I wasn't a fan of Matt Ryan. I've been very vocal about that, but you're right. Statistically, he probably is the best quarterback that we've ever had, and that is a shame. I saw Mike Vick. He was commentating this weekend, and he said, "Man, I wish the division was this week when I played." Shit.
Who said?
Michael Vick said that. He was talking about the division that we got going on right now. Because honestly, man, whoever wins the playoff berth between the Bucks, Panthers, Falcons, and Saints, I mean, do they really deserve it? Right.
Stop, because that's where I want to start. Carolina's not a part of this division because Carolina is the worst organization in football. My hometown team is the worst organization in football. We have the worst owner in football. He just made a very, very foolish decision when he hired Frank Reich instead of keeping Steve Wilkes, who's another West Charlotte alumni like myself. Because he's a rich white man, a wealthy white man, he does not understand what Steve Wilkes means to the city of Charlotte because he don't know shit about his city because he's a terrible owner. And the Chicago Bears right now are probably going to have the first pick in the draft because Carolina traded it away. And they're probably about to have the fifth pick in the draft, too, because they're not that good either. They probably going to lose to the Vikings tonight, who's not that good. But none of these teams are as bad as my hometown team, Mike. We have the worst owner, definitely in football, maybe in professional sports right now. And this team is, laughable. And as much as people are like Bryce Young isn't getting a fair shot, I'm not joking when I say this. Me and that dude is about the same height and the same weight, which means I don't like his chances on the football field because quarterbacks shouldn't be my height. It shouldn't be my weight playing against men, quite frankly. Like it's one thing to squab with one dude that's about 15, 20, 50 pounds heavier than you. It's a whole other thing when those dudes are hitting you regularly at the size that we're at. So it's just a structural organizational failure. They suck. And they need to railroad this sorry-ass owner out of town. The GM needs to be fired. Don't just fire the coach. Fire the GM. The only thing that this organization has actually done right in the last 15 years is draft Cam, which kind of masked that we're the worst organization in football. But for the better part of 11 years, the worst organization in football is the Carolina Panthers. And it's mostly due to poor ownership, general managers, and poor selection of coaches. So we're getting everything that we deserve. This team isn't going to be good for a very long time.
Dot with the super chat says Carolina ain't been the same since they let Cam go the first time. Now look, Cam is an interesting topic here. You know what I mean? And I
Cam
said,
should still be playing.
exactly. I look around the league, all of these injuries, man. You look at the New York Jets specifically. The New York Jets are down to their third string quarterback. You're telling me that Cam Newton couldn't get one of them spots?
No, Cam's still better than probably about 20 to 30 quarterbacks in the league. Like right now, without like any like physical training or just anything. Like,
why do you think he's not playing then? Why do you think nobody's picking Cam up? What did he do to the league?
Too black for BET.
You know who he reminds me of in this sense? He reminds me of Allen Iverson and Carmelo Anthony. Like they sat these guys down and told them that they couldn't play before it was proven that they could no longer play.
You know, Cam's career numbers are literally better than Elway's career numbers for the same amount of seasons played. Like if you go through Cam's first 10 seasons and then go through Elway's first 10 seasons, you know Cam's number are better than Elway's, right?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's definitely being literally blackballed. He's definitely been too black, too bold, too arrogant, too Southside College Park, Georgia for these white people and these white owners. And it's just the fact that when Cam walks in the building, like Cam isn't just like that dude on the football field. He's that guy like in real life. And so these white men, these white owners, these white coaches, these racist-ass white people are scared of this black man walking into the locker room because the locker room different when Cam in it.
Well, don't they want, I mean, you would think in sports, and especially in a quarterback position, you want somebody that has confidence. And I don't feel like Cam has done anything off, or obviously not off the field, but even on the field to really rub somebody the wrong way to say that, you know, he can't play or that he has a bad attitude or he's a bad teammate. I remember them doing similar things to Vince Young. They bounced him out of the league before it was proven that he could no longer play either.
Yeah, that's Jess Fisher, sorry ass.
Yeah.
One of the worst coaches like that to ever hold tenure for more than a decade on the NFL level. Here's the real problem. I kind of discussed this on my Mirror Music podcast with Andrew this weekend. We covered Andre's Little Flutie album. That's what I call it. It's a Flutie album. You know, when you're a black man, Mike, like, I don't know how many times I've been called arrogant and rebellious, but my white counterparts get called ambitious and intuitive and taking initiative. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so the connotation of Cam is that he's arrogant. I'm going to tell you who acts just like Cam, and they just say he exudes confidence. Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow and Cam are like damn near the same guy. But for some reason, when the cool-ass white boy does it, you know what I'm saying? It's confidence, and he galvanizes the team. When Cam does it, it's the arrogant black guy. And I've dealt with that professionally my whole career, so I know exactly what it is. It's one of those racial epithets that's used to, quite frankly, slide men like me and like Cam, who actually like have a fucking voice and have a personality down. And it's absurd. It's egregious. It's America.
Jay Short with the super chat says, Coop, what happened to the Charlotte Hornets? They used to have the best-selling gear in the league. That LJ number 2 jersey was fire. The crowd had Hive looked hype on TV. The crowd had at the Hive looked hype on TV. You know what, man? That Larry Johnson jersey, Alonzo Mourning jersey, those Hornets, and remember the starter pullover coat of the Charlotte Hornets? It's a classic.
The Charlotte Hornets starter chalk line jacket is still the best chalk line jacket ever created.
It might be.
Just real quick backstory. The Charlotte Hornets offered my grandfather $1 million for a back acre of his land when they first came to town in like 1988, 89, and he said no. So that's how close the original arena was to like my family's house and my family's land. So I know like all about the Hornets. I don't want to talk about the Hornets today because the Hornets actually stand a chance in hell, unlike the Carolina Panthers.
Dot with the super chat says Cam took a 2-14 team to the Super Bowl in 3 years. These are facts,
correct,
man. And you know what? At the end of the day, it's about respect. You know what I'm saying? Like the way that the league is treating Cam Newton, they owe him more than that. They really do. Thumbs up in the chat,
Yeah.
everybody. We're gonna get to it today, man. Speaking of which,
So
go ahead.
yeah, so just one more thing, just like on a quick football note. I know you weren't able to. Did you catch the Philly Buffalo game?
I did. I saw the highlights of it. I didn't actually catch the game. I saw the highlights.
So this is another thing that I mean. Everybody keeps talking about how Joe Burrow's the next Tom Brady in a sense, and even us, and it's like, nah, we may have the wrong guy because what Jalen Hurts does for the Philadelphia Eagles
He's
is literally
special.
It's literally something I haven't seen since Tom Brady, like in New England, and for that first year in Tampa, where it's like, no, those guys are never out of any game because they believe in their quarterback so much that they don't feel like anybody can really fuck with them, Mike. And I've watched almost every game they played this season, Mike. They're 11 games in. Mike, they haven't played one game well from beginning to end, and they're 10-1. And so serious was what they did yesterday to Buffalo that, like, I'm switching my MVP and my Super Bowl picks today. I've been picking Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens all year, and I still think Lamar is going to finish top 3 to 5 in MVP, and I still think Baltimore is going to the Super Bowl. But I don't think anybody's beating Philly this year, Mike. That team has something to them and something going on about them that when you're watching them play, it's like, oh no, these dudes walk out on the field and they feel like they about to whoop your ass no matter what happens. And psychologically in the playoffs, that does something to the other team. Like they don't feel anybody can beat them. Like they were totally unfazed about being in Kansas City and playing Mahomes. Like it didn't bother them at all that they were down 10 to Mahomes in Kansas City. They were like, so what?
And their defense is tough too. Like their defense, I mean, obviously it can't be understated, but yeah, they're a complete team.
Yeah.
And the fans in Philly are crazy too.
Dude, it don't matter. Like, watch what happened in the playoffs. Like, this team hasn't played a full complete game yet, and they are 10-1. Like, what do you think is going to happen if they play a full complete game for 4 quarters?
They find ways to beat you, and when you see teams that find ways to beat you, like you said, that feels like the New England Patriots of a certain era.
Yeah. And that's the last point I wanted to make, Mike, if we could. They pulled up this stat about Jalen Hurts the other day about how times he's come back in the quarterback with the most comebacks. Like, do you know that Tom Brady's record is like some 42-69 in games where they've been down, like had to come back? And I'm thinking, like, hold on, Tom Brady was down in 110 football games?
Right.
Like, think about that.
He played a long time.
No, it really was Brady is what I'm saying. Tom Brady, if Bill Belichick is so brilliant, Tom Brady isn't down in 110 football games, Mike.
Well, no, for real.
And we're seeing it now because the only team that's worse than the Patriots are my Panthers. And it's time for Belichick to go. Like, this portion of the conversation is over. And it was Tom all along. And you're really a defensive coordinator.
Well, you know what? Do you feel the same way about Greg Popovich? Because when Duncan was no longer there, the team fell apart. Was Duncan more important than Popovich?
Mike, there's a reason that I had Tim Duncan ahead of Kobe and Shaq and Larry Bird when I was making my top 20 basketball players list. And you're seeing why with Greg Popovich, who's a great coach, but he's not what Tim Duncan is to basketball players. Greg Popovich is not the coaches, and you're seeing the proof.
I mean, I've always been a fan of Larry Brown in the sense that, I hate what he did in the Olympic team when he didn't play LeBron and Wade and those guys and Melo. But we've seen Larry Brown take probably the least talented teams so far. And I don't know if people like Greg Popovich could do that. I don't think Phil Jackson could do that. We don't have any evidence of those things. But if you want to talk about the least talented teams collectively and the teams that lack a dominant superstar, and even though Iverson was dominant, Iverson's height kept him from being truly dominant, Larry Brown's done more with less than any coach that I've experienced in the NBA.
No, I totally agree with you. First of all, he's the one. I think people forget this. When the Lakers got that ass whooped by Detroit 4-1, that was Larry Brown that was undressing Phil Jackson's coaching style like that.
Yeah,
he took the talented team I've ever seen to the finals, which is the Allen Iverson Sixers team.
Yep.
And guess who Greg Popovich got the job? Because Larry Brown left, not because Larry Brown couldn't have stayed.
Yeah.
And he got a college national championship and an NBA championship. And he's probably the best X's and O's basketball coach of the last 50 years, outside of maybe a Coach K or a Dean Smith. And neither one of those guys proved that they could coach on the professional level the way that he could. So he's probably, pound for pound, like on some Sugar Ray Robinson or Sugar Ray Leonard shit, the best that ever did it.
Shout out to Iceberg Slim that's in the chat right now. He says salute Mike D, Coop, and the chat. We got Jay-Z in the building. Jigga Man's checking in.
That's Iceberg from Fresh Out, probably.
Oh, shout out to Iceberg for Fresh Out. Shout out to the family. Speaking of Iceberg Slim and Jigga Man, did you hear what Dame had to say about he had to fight Jay and Leo Cohen to sign Kanye West? He said he had to fight for Cam too, obviously, but
Leor's, like everybody knows that. What's next?
Yeah, right. Is that new?
Leor's an asshole. What's new? Like everybody knows that. That's
like, well, all right, this is the thing. I think we saw this in the Kanye documentary, and to me, one of the most powerful things that we saw in that Kanye documentary that was on Netflix, Genius, was when he was walking through the Rockefeller offices playing All Falls Down, and they were looking at him like he was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but people have to understand what hip-hop looked like and sounded like in 2002, 2003. On a mainstream level, you have a person coming through. Man, we got some spam in the chat. I'll get to that. You got somebody coming through with these messages and this messaging. That wasn't happening in the game on a mainstream level. You know what I mean? And so I could see how somebody could feel like, hold on 1 second. Let me get this out of the chat.
Can you get Kyle Punk ass out of here? Spamming in the chat.
Yeah. I don't know if somebody trying to do some self-promoting or whatever, but, we got that handled. But anyway, that was a foreign thing because in the early 2000s, there was a formula for how hits were being made, right? There was every commercial when somebody was dropping an album, everybody had the same producers on there. You had Swiss, you had Timbaland, you had the Neptunes in that era. And so a new artist that was coming out, the new artists were being carried by the production. And so what Kanye came in and did, I could see them being like, yeah, that's not going to work. But speaking of that old formula, I feel like Busta Rhymes tapped into that old formula. Do you want to start talking about his album yet, or you want to build up to that? Because I got a lot to say about this Busta album.
I was about to say, I'd rather get the Busta album out the way because there's not like a whole lot positive to say.
Okay. Friday, Busta Rhymes dropped Blockbuster. It was the album that was highly anticipated or that was being beefed up a lot as far as, media attention from a grassroots level. That was executive produced or is executive produced by Timbaland, Pharrell, and Swiss Beats. Let me get to this super chat real quick, and then I'll start off. Unless you want to start off on this.
No. Let's go ahead and let the people talk the shit that paid their money, and then we can talk about Busta and this project.
Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says, Mike Coop, to your point, Ryan Fitzpatrick was a career journeyman. They got 50 chances to play for various teams, accomplished nothing, yet treated like a rock star, and now in every commercial post-career. Insane, right?
Right.
Andrew Williams with the super chat says,
Mike, that's that Priv, and I don't mean Hennessy. That's that Priv.
Andrew Williams with the super chat says, I'm a Pats fan, and I always knew it was all Brady. Belichick is just another coach without Brady. The players are always more important than the coach. Well, Michael Jordan tried to tell him.
He's literally a below 500 coach now without without Brady. You see, it's like when Brady retired, it was like, well, his record's 500 without Brady. It's like, no, now look at him, and people were like, oh, he was younger. He was still figuring out the coach. It's like, well, now this is a guy with 2 Super Bowls as a defensive coordinator, 6 as a head coach, and they are sitting in the cellar in a division where the Jets don't have a real quarterback, Mike.
No.
You and I could go quarterback for the Jets right now and win a game.
The Jets are on their third string right now.
I know how to hand the ball off, Mike, and I'm pretty certain I can throw a 5-yard slant.
Thumbs up in the chat, guys. Thumbs up in the chat. All right. So Busta Rhymes drops Blockbusta. I didn't like the name, first of all, but let me get past all of that. And I want everybody to be clear. I'm a Busta Rhymes fan. I was a Busta Rhymes fan since I heard him on Scenario. I'm a Tribe fan. So when I heard Woo Ha, I was all in. The Coming, great album. When Disaster Strikes, awesome follow-up. ELE, my personal favorite Busta Rhymes album. Actually, one of my favorite albums of that time period is just straight spazzing on the mic. Anarchy, And then I feel like Genesis, which is celebrating the anniversary today as well, that's when Busta kind of started losing his identity, in my opinion, and he has become an adaptable rapper. And I think this is what this album showed. Okay, I don't think that there's a... Go ahead.
When you mean adaptable rapper, I think what you're trying to say nicely is that he's a poor adaptable rapper. Because somebody like LL Cool J adapted about 3 different times that I can recall, and we were all fine with it because he adapted well.
He did adapt well. Yes, I agree.
The issue is Busta's inability to adapt.
He feels like a feature on his own album. I was listening to the song with Moray, and I'm like, any of these songs and any of these features on this album, first of all, I was skeptical about how these young features were going to fit with some seasoned production. And we're going to get to the production in a minute, which is a farce, in my opinion. He allowed every feature on there to carry him. It felt like it was those feature songs and not Busta Rhymes' song. Like the Moray record sounds like Moray's song. Kodak song sounds like Kodak's song featuring Busta Rhymes. You know what I'm saying?
Quavo record sounds like Quavo shit.
Yeah, Quavo featuring Busta Rhymes. Like, how do you become the feature on your own record? And it goes back to what I was trying to tell the people months ago when everybody was ranting and raving about Busta Rhymes in a verses and in that format. And I'm like, well, give me the Busta Rhymes records and not all the shit that he's featured on. So what I'm seeing now is not only is he a person that's known for his features that are actual features, but on his actual albums now, he's damn near the feature on his own shit. Jay Short with the super chat says, Tinfoil Koofy. Older artists are hesitant to work with Busta due to his comments. However, they're trying to position him to be an elder statesman among younger fans to continue to sell this culture BS. I think Jay Short's talking about the fact that he's saying that Busta Rhymes has been caught saying that Black Americans don't have any culture and hip-hop is a Jamaican thing and we got everything from Jamaica in those narratives. So I think that's what Jay Short's speaking towards.
Well, album-wise, that's part of the problem with this album is that I think he tried too hard to stand his ground because this shit sounds too calypso, Afro
beats,
drip, reggae tone inspired. It's like he's all over the place.
Very Caribbean stuff, yeah.
Yeah, there's no hip hop beats on here. It's like no. If I want a calypso and go salsa and with my girl, some of these records are fine. But if I want some rap shit, Mike, this ain't it. And even if it was some rap shit, he's not rapping at a high level on this album. And the Jay Short's comment, too, I don't think it's just his comments. I think it's his commentary when he is in the studio with other artists who, quite frankly, have been proven better album makers than him. But he's the guy in the room that always acts like he knows everything. And you can hear it on this album. It's like, oh no, he executive produced this album. He think he know too much. He don't. Because to be honest with you, it's like if The Common and ELE are your best albums, I mean, Mike, not to be funny, but it's like I can think of a lot of dudes that made two better albums than that. Like a lot.
Zuri with the
Like a
super
lot.
chat says, "Does Busta
Like
Rhymes?" Go ahead.
like AZ, who we going to talk about in his interview.
Mm-hmm.
AZ's two best albums are better than Busta's two best albums.
Zuri with the super chat says, "Does Busta try too hard to be current? What's the balance in retaining your core while trying to appeal to a younger audience?" Well, I think that's part of the problem, guys. I don't know if Busta really has as large of a core as he is as an artist. You know what I mean? I think he's a bigger artist than he is than his core demands. Because I feel like myself, few of my other friends, we would probably be a part of Busta Rhymes' core. But when your core is a small core and you're a big artist, you're never making music for your core. ELE is him making music for his core. And I don't want to take somebody back 25 years or anything like that, but Make It Clap and stuff like that, that's not his core.
Pastor Cavassier is not his core.
That's not his core. No.
Yeah. Neither is What's Gonna Be or the Mariah joint. That's not core records.
He's been adapting for a long time now. Like, and I think that people, it's just really, really evident now because the people that he's adapting with are so young. But he's been adapting since Genesis, to be honest. Break Your Neck is not core Busta Rhymes stuff. He's rapping fast, but that's not, you know what I mean? Big Bang is a cool album. It's a dope album, but that doesn't sound like Busta Rhymes. That sounds like Dr. Dre.
You want to know what's crazy? ELE 2 is a really dope album.
It is.
It's one of his better albums to me, and it's like, you could have just went and did that again, you know? That would have been totally fine. So it's like, I don't understand. I mean, not to be funny, it's like, this album also sounds to me like he's trying too hard to make bangers, and it's like...
Right.
Like, dude, you're 50. Just give us some good music. Not to be funny.
I think
like,
it was the song Slide where he was talking at the beginning. He was talking about, you think that we left the club and, I still got bangers and this and that. And it's like, we don't really expect you to have bangers at this point.
First of all, no, you need to leave the club. You're 50. That's what I'm saying. It's like, when I listen to this album, it's like, how about this? How are we going to get on Drake and Future for not acting and behaving their age on the mic when this guy is 15 years their senior pretty much, and he's not acting his age on the mic at all.
No. And you know what? The other thing with these collaborations with younger artists, I want to say this, I don't want to get in anybody's head. I'm no Skip Bayless where I know what somebody's thinking. But as a fan, I feel like these artists aren't really Busta Rhymes fans like that. You don't really hear them going hard for their feature. It sounds like they're dialing it in. Kodak sound like he dialed it in. You know what? I'll give Coi Leray credit. I feel like she tried. I feel like... Huh?
But the beat's uninspired. Their back and forth was dope, but the beat is totally uninspired. It's a mail-in.
Yeah. It's a lot of dialing in on this album. And you know what? And since we're going to talk dialing in, let's bring in Timbaland, Swizz Beatz, and Pharrell. And so if their names are on here as the executive producers of this, and Pharrell had 2 beats on here I saw in the credits. Timbaland's name was on 2 beats, but it also had 2 other producers on each of those beats. Swizz name was on 2 tracks, one of them being the one that you mentioned where it was just the same loop as, Ain't No Nigga from Jay and Fox. And the other one was a Mama Say Mama Sa Mamaku Sa sample. So what did they actually do on here? What, like, for the names that did they just slap their names on an album? And just expect us to say, yo, this is dope? Because I don't really understand what Timbaland, Pharrell, and Swizz actually did on this album.
I mean, first of all, I don't think it's more of a question of did he slap their names on here. And producing 6 tracks between 3 producers on, a 19-track album, that's not executive production, just so we're clear.
Right.
So it's just clear to me that the work behind the scenes wasn't done. This project lacks cohesion. That's what I'm saying. Is it's like, man, I get some calypso inspired track, and then I get a drill inspired track, and it's a down south inspired track. It's like it does go to your point. It's just like, well, who is Busta Rhymes as an artist, Mike? When you called me this morning, like, who is Busta Rhymes as an artist? And this is the type of album, because of its lack of cohesion, that makes you ask. It's like, well, what is he as an artist? Because I think you said something strong, and I think you need to tell the people, like what you told me this morning about how once the whole 5 years left thing left, he really didn't have a mantra, so to speak. So can you speak to that more?
Yeah. It's funny, man. Me and my man B Town, he's a big Busta Rhymes fan too. We all went to high school together, and so the whole build up for Busta was the fact that he thought the world was going to end in 2000. Like, even on The Coming, on Everything Remains Raw, it's like there's only 5 years left. He was literally rapping like the world was going to end, and when it didn't, he just assimilated. I don't know who Busta Rhymes is in the 2000s and beyond. Everything that he's done from the 2000s beyond, he lacks identity. And I think that this album is just another example of that, where it's like he hasn't had an identity as an MC since the 90s. Now you remember when Busta used to get on the features that hit him high with, the Space Jam soundtrack. We knew what we were gonna get from Busta. Like, he was adding his flavor to it. And after Anarchy, I'll say, because Fire was still part of that run, he lost that edge. And when he lost that edge, he lost his identity as an MC. We hear it in spurts here and there with like Turn Me Up Some, produced by Jay Dilla and stuff like that, which could possibly be an old song. We don't know. It sounds like an old song. But when you hear stuff like Make It Clap and Pastor Cavassier and A-Rab Money, like, it's just whatever's going on at the time. And this album is a poor shining example of such. This is what's going on right now. And what's going on right now in hip-hop on a mainstream level, from a quality standpoint, isn't the best. And this is Busta Rhymes taking it on. I just hate that Timbaland, Pharrell, and Swiss were part of it this time, because, again, I need to know exactly what they did in this. Like,
I mean, Mike, when you're saying that, it's like, I keep on trying to express this to you. It's like, for a single, all of those guys are great. For a few tracks on your album, all those guys are great. But those three guys that you're talking about, none of them have produced a hip-hop classic by themselves. And so when it comes to making hip-hop classic material on an album scale, not a single scale, on an album scale, those three guys have never been it, Mike. It's just is what it is. We got to call a spade a spade. It's like, I'm going to keep on asking you, what's Swiss' best executive produced album that he did by himself? What about Pharrell without Chad? What about Tim? Like, nah, Mike, it's always been this way. And to the adaptability point, well, part of adapting isn't just, catching up with the times and clinging to whatever's current. Mike, it's reinventing yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I mean about L. L wasn't just latching on to what was hip at the time.
Exactly. He reinvented himself.
He reinvented himself so that he was hip with the times. And if you really want to know the truth, the Busta Rhymes that we grew up on is the guy from The Scenario, Flavania Remix, Woo Ha, Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Can See, Everything Remains Raw. That's Busta's identity. And what happened was that it's not about his adaptability on record. It's the fact that he never reinvented himself. And so it sounds like an old guy trying to keep up with the young kids who, quite frankly, can't rap as well as him. Why would you try to keep up with somebody that can't rap like you?
It don't even sound like a good mesh. You know what I mean? Like, with him trying to rap the way he's trying to rap on a song with Kodak, because we're in an era now where the MCs now, or the artists in hip-hop now, it's more about a vibe. And like you said, he's out here trying to rap on songs where they're just vibing, and it's just not a good mix. But again, I blame the producers for that. And when I say producers, I mean Timbaland, Swiss, and Pharrell. Let me get to some of these super chats because they're piling up real quick. OG Winston with the super chat says, listen to the Busta album. Reminds me as to why Tip didn't accept the verses. Tip would have washed Busta. I agree. You know what I mean? We're going to get to this Busta versus thing too. We'll get to that. Mad Max with the super chat says, Busta album was whack. But Coop, D Wade's top 20? Mike, I need you to set up the Twitter space because I got to address Coop's list. Wade, top 20? Is that a joke? We need to do that Twitter space. Coop was talking about that the other day. Let's get a Twitter space going, sir.
Oh, and I can't wait to get Mad Max on the Twitter space. I'm going to blast that ass out of the water. First of all, Wade went to how many finals? 5, won MVP and 1, is the third best shooting guard of all time behind Mike and Kobe. He's definitely better than James Harden, fraud ass.
He's better than Clyde Drexler. I hate to admit it, but it's the truth.
He's better than Drexler. He's better than my personal favorite, Dominique. He's better than Patrick Ewing.
Better than Allen Iverson. I hate to admit that, too.
I prefer Iverson to Wade, but Wade's better than Iverson. Yeah. He's better than McGrady because he actually played hurt better.
I actually like McGrady more than D Wade, but you're right. D Wade's better than McGrady. Yeah.
McGrady in a vacuum for 3 or 4 seasons is better than Wade, but what the fuck did McGrady ever win, just so we're clear?
There were some seasons where McGrady was better on paper than Kobe, but he's
correct.
Better overall.
And how did out in the long run?
Jay Short with the super chat said, to be fair, Mike, Timbaland and Pharrell are saving their best beats for Justin Timberlake's comeback album. Swiss is still working on putting together the next verses, quote unquote, for the culture. I see what you did there, Jay Short. Jay Short's in full swing today, and I'm loving it.
He is. Jay Short, pull up to the Twitter space, and Jay Short has something to say. Mad Max has nothing for me.
Nicodemus with the super chat says, Tim, Pharrell, and Swiss are rich producers. People shouldn't have expect that old sound from this album. But see, what I feel like they did as the privileged producers they are at this point, and that's no slander, that's just they've made it. They've gotten to a point in their careers where they're getting residual from production that they made 20, 25 years ago that doesn't exist for producers now. You went out for a second, Coop. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. That type of residual doesn't exist for producers anymore, but it feels like to me, instead of actually working on this Busta Rhymes album, they went and got beats from young guys and slapped their names on it. That's what it feels like to me. Patricio with the super chat says, Jay Short is 100% correct. Personally, I stopped listening to Busta's music ever since he said Black Americans have no culture. This album shows I'm not missing out on much. The album cover is whack also. Oh, God. And Mad Max in the super chat says, Busta is a Jamaican K-Dot, a rambling bambler who's scatterbrained. More audible features. And Wade is not a top 25. He's not David Robinson. Set up the spaces. We will set that up.
I had David Robinson ahead of Wade. Can Mad Max read? You know, reading is fundamental. Do you remember the more you know shit? We need to get Mad Max like all the old school shit that helped us read. He needs Reading Rainbow. He needs the more you know. Remember the little bill thing we down and explain the amendments to him? Mad Max need all type of fundamental help. Reading is fundamental.
Dot with the super chat says, Hit Boy is showing us that there's levels to this. It's real. And you know what? I'm glad you said that, Dot. Shout out to Hit Boy. Shout out to him, man. And, he did an incredible interview with Coop. We got to get one of those going again. Oh, the Gip interview should be dropping tonight, too. That's rendering and all that. But anyway.
About time.
Hit Boy has shown us that one guy, and I know he had other producers that he was working with, can masterfully executive produce an album and actually do the legwork in producing the album as well, better than 3 of our most notable producers in hip-hop history. Now, what does that say about him all time?
That's what I keep saying is like...
and he did it 6 times, too.
If you need a hit, yeah, you can go to those guys before you go to Hit. But Hit got hits and makes better albums than all of those guys.
Listen,
like those guys collectively don't have 6 dope albums like Hit just did. You understand that, right?
If I'm a rapper, and we talking Pharrell, Timbaland, and Swiss, Give me Hit Boy. Now, if we talking the Neptunes, if we talking about Chad and Pharrell, give me
That's
the
different.
Neptunes. Yeah, that's different. But if
That's
we're
different.
talking on some rap shit, if we're talking about I need a producer for my album, because you and I used to rap, you know what I mean? If Coop and Mike D are putting together an EP and we got Hit Boy here, Pharrell here, Timbaland here, Swiss here, I'm gonna say, yo, Coop, let's get Hit Boy to do this EP
Yeah.
for us.
Mike, they be doing real delicate shit now. No, your Jay-Z song was better. No, your Jay-Z song was better. Man, get the fuck out of here.
Nobody
with that
wants
shit.
to hear that. And we're supposed to get verses from folks like this? Like everybody's
Yeah.
sitting here giving each other these compliments and all that. No, let's be competitive. Let's
Shit
make
is
great
corny.
music. Your Jay-Z song was better. No, your Jay-Z song. All right, Jermaine
yours
Johnson.
is better.
I like your ad-libs better. And don't get it twisted, guys. I'm a huge Pharrell and Timbaland fan, but I'm just keeping it real. Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says,
You know, excited, Mike? Hold on.
uh-huh.
Andre 3000 said his flute album was produced by Timberland and Neptunes. I would be excited. Be like, yeah, get this nigga bass line, some drums.
Me and Gibb talked about the flute album. Well, you guys are gonna love what he had to say about that.
The flute album made AZ's interview. Okay, think about that.
It did. MC Shan is out here talking about the flute album.
Damn shame.
Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says, it's a bad album, but I still love the fact that Busta dropped his second project in 3 years. I just want the Elder Statesman legends to stay active. Drop even if some albums are bad. Keep trying. This is the thing, though. And I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that. Huh?
No. If you can't bring the goods, stay your ass at home.
But see, this is my thing, though, Coop. If you're going to drop a bad effort, drop a bad effort solo. Don't have all of these moving parts. And one of the big things that I didn't even mention that I hate that goes on now, he used all of these proven samples, all of these recycled samples that have already worked before. That's another thing that I see the younger cats doing, and I get that because they weren't around for a lot of these records. So that's different for them. That's like us, you know what I'm saying, when we were sampling, well, not we, but the people we were listening to were sampling stuff from the 70s. That's different. Busta sampling shit that he was around for. You know what I mean? Like, you're reusing shit that you were around for. Like, what kind of cheat code is this? Like, if you're making bad albums, at least let it be a bad album on some experimental shit. But you're using all of these proven samples, these proven producers. You got Young Thug, you got Coi Leray, you got Kodak Black. Like, damn. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how you put the dream team together and lose every game?
That's what I mean. It's just like, no, if you're not going to go to Ball So Hard University, take your ball and go home, because I want to remember Busta like it's like the same thing I was saying with Belichick. It's like, no, it's time for him to go. I want to remember the guy that beat the Rams in 2 Super Bowls with being a genius defensive mind. I don't want to watch no 2-8 Bill Belichick team, just like I don't want to listen to this Busta album like that. Why would I? I can go listen to ELE2 from literally a few years ago and be like, oh, yeah, that's Busta.
Yeah. Zuri with the super chat says, Busta's best album is his debut, The Becoming. He doesn't even have the best verses. That tells the tale right there.
Think about how innovative he used to be, Mike. His first single, on the third verse, he goes, which motherfucker stole my flow?
It's disheartening to hear somebody who was once so innovative being such an adapter in a bad way. You know what I mean? Or a follower, if you will. Because like you said, stuff like that, his hook on Victory, nobody else could pull that off. His hook on Wild for the Night, nobody could pull that off. And these are things that we will hear in the mixes for the rest of our lives, just because of his innovation and his vocal talent.
Guess what? And they're still playing those songs in the club.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even if we want to talk about Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Could See, now that is a possible top 50 hip-hop song all time. Legit.
I
Legit.
Legit.
Leroy Green with the super chat says, "What up, fellas? But celebration, clubs, parties are part of rap culture, right? So how is it hard to understand what Busta, Pharrell, Tim, and Swiss do? They're not doing it well."
Hold on, Mike. I used to say this, and I mean this. You ever go to the club when you was younger and see that old nigga in the club and be like, yo, what the fuck is he doing here?
I don't want to be that guy.
I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
Guess who Busta is right now?
Yeah, I know.
So are clubs and parties and celebration a part of it? Yes. But guess what, Mike? The scenario be getting played in the club. Put your hands where my eyes can see be getting played in the club. What's it going to be still getting played in the club? Like, he got so many records. Look at me now with Chris Brown still spinning the club. He got so many classic stuff that's spinning in the club. It's like, what you need to go back to the club for? You're already a club legend.
You got to party with, I mean, and we still go, you know what I mean? You can still go out, but you got to party with your demographic. You know what I'm saying? Like, just like a 22-year-old male or female is not going to go out here and party with the OGs at a cigar bar or lounge or something. You know what I mean? Like, that's not your venue. And that's okay.
I be with my grown-up female and male friends that are in their 40s when I go to a cigar bar, Mike. I don't be with my 25-year-old friends.
Yeah. Let them go through their thing over there.
Yeah.
And shout out to the young ones.
Go be ratchet. Uncle Coop will call you when he's done.
Exactly. Thumbs up in the chat, everybody. Mad Max with the super chat says, Kawhi is better than Wade. We forgot Wade couldn't get out of the first round without Bron after Shaq. Wade was on a champion, only got championships because of the FA era.
Let's pause first. I'm gonna show my age and show that Mad Max was probably still literally in preschool. Wade won NBA playoff games as a rookie and took a team to the second round as a rookie.
Wade was the truth.
All-knowing motherfucker.
Wade was the truth.
He literally has a rookie hit a game-winning shot. His rookie season, he was in the playoffs, and they went to the second round. You literally don't know what you're talking about. And that was with Lamar Odom being the other best player on the team.
You know, when Shaq was gone, I saw Wade put that team on his back. Now, granted, they got bounced out of the first round, but they got bounced out by a Boston team that was stacked.
And he won the scoring title, I believe, that year.
Yeah, Wade's the truth. L Magic with the super chat says, I have to behold honesty. I have to behold honesty. I really enjoyed this album. Of course, it's definitely not an album of the year contender, but I had fun listening to it. Okay. I'm not mad at that, but I'm just saying, for somebody who many people were deeming as one of the greats in New York City, or just period, I don't think he is the best thing that's on this album. And if you like this album, you might like it for reasons that Busta Rhymes not even involved in. That's the problem I have with the album. The Moray record, I think it's dope. You know what I'm saying? But if Busta Rhymes never came in on that song, I wouldn't have never missed him. Because a lot of those songs, you could take Busta's part off, and no songs are the same. That's not how you make an album for yourself, though.
And it's not how a legend should want to be remembered.
Yeah. Nicodemus with the super chat says, anyone notice that Pharrell used the same 4-count intro? Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Common knowledge among those of us who know. Boom,
Jay,
boom, boom,
yeah.
Boom. Drop the beat. We all know.
Right. J.I. Design with the super chat says, what are y'all's thoughts on the Diddy situation? I don't know, man.
Actually, Mike, I hit my boy Wop up yesterday. Shout out to Wop. Wop used to be my plug to Bad Boy. He used to sit at the table with Puff down here in Atlanta when Bad Boy used to throw parties.
Okay.
And split me Curry's number. And so I'm trying to make the shit happen with Curry. Curry's actually in Florida right now. But I'm literally trying to get a situation where Curry will come up here and come talk to us. I told you, Curry been telling me shit since I was 25.
Okay.
He made a whole book about it. People tried to call him a hater. But now these chickens coming home to roost, and my man Curry is looking like a prophet out here, and I still got a link to the prophet, so I'm about to reach out and literally call him tomorrow to try to set it up to see when the next time that he's in the A. We need to pull Wop up in here, too. Wop is like a very astute businessman, and he's got a lot of stuff going for him, and he always has.
Okay.
younger brother was my camera guy, and just his whole family is like my second family. And yeah, I'm working on literally right now having Curry pull up so you can hear it from somebody who was actually around when
Right.
the shit was down, who
Yeah.
actually was.
Um, let's see.
It's
CJ Kid with the super chat. Shout out to CJ Kid in the building. He says, wish for great physical and mental guys. Need thoughts on how that I am. And I just got in here. It sounds like Busta is being accused of what Joe accused Drake of. Yeah?
we CJ, shout out to you. The mental and physical health is doing stellar over here today.
Yes, sir.
I literally spoke to the fact CJ. First of all, CJ the Kid is who Mad Max should aspire to be when he grows up. CJ, I was literally speaking to the fact that Drake in future, like 15 years, Buster's Jr., and they're getting excoriated for making records that are for the club. And I'm like, well, shit, them niggas still allowed in the club. They're not 40 yet.
What are we rating this album, or are we not rating this album yet?
I told you, Mike, I always want to keep it positive, and so if we have to give a bad review, I prefer not to put a rating on it because I don't want to like do any more damage, and quite frankly, my opinion already does. The rating for this album, if we were to give one, would not be high, and I don't want to treat our legends that way because I've already talked enough shit about how good this project is not, and I'd rather just leave it right there. I want to rate projects that are actually good.
Well, this is the thing. And even when we give our critiques, it's coming from a fan's perspective. And, even with you guys, like, as watchers of the show and viewers of the show, we would love, for you guys to give your honest critiques so that we could be better. And that's the only reason why we actually break down these albums in the way we do it. I mean, it's not to denigrate any of the artists. I would love for Busta Rhymes to make better music. I would love for Busta to actually go out there with DJ Scratcher Tour. They find a zone that is their own unique zone and double down on it and do your thing. You know what I mean? But this trying to chase a hit and trying to adapt to people that you don't really have that level of chemistry with, it's not really good for anybody. The younger listener's not feeling it, and your older listener's not feeling it. So, and I would imagine that Busta's not feeling it like that either, if he's honest with himself.
Like, think about this. Us did Spicy. It's one record. He's on tour with Wu-Tang Clan.
Right.
It gotta make sense when you a legend. It's okay to do a one-off a couple times on your album with the younger generation so that they see and understand who you are. It's not okay to make a full-length project like that. It's not.
Critical Mass with the super chat says the Latino that throws the N-word around on Rap Roundtable was dissing Pac last week. For balance, why do y'all think Pac is loved so much in the South? I can give you a reason why I think Pac is so beloved in the South. It's because in the South, man, it's straight talk. You know what I'm saying? We don't do all of the... It's kind of like what Kwame Brown was saying, right? All of the big words and all of this, talking around things. It's just straight talk. And that's what Tupac gives you in his music. You don't have to sit here and figure out what he meant by this. Or you don't have to figure out this entendre here and there or where he's going with this. It is giving it to you raw and giving it to you straight. And if you think about most of the rappers in the South, they're direct hitters. Trick Daddy's a direct hitter. BG's a direct hitter. You know what I mean? Like Soulja Slim, Scarface.
Doobie.
Yeah.
MJG, 8 Ball. Pimp
Straight talk to you, man.
Bun B, Big Boy.
Yeah.
But Mike, everybody loves Pac in every region.
Yeah.
It's not a South.
I mean,
North, West, South. Like, you could put a compass down in the middle of America. It's like, no. There's going to be some Tupac everywhere.
You know what? Somebody said Pac lived in Georgia for a while. It's funny. I never knew that as a person who lived here my whole life. I was born and raised here. But Gip and I talked about that in the interview. Or I like to kind of call it a conversation. Gip and I was really kind of having a conversation. But he talked about Pac living here in Atlanta and that experience. And, not to give away too much. But, yeah.
He had a house in Mike. Yeah. He was like living on the east side.
You know how I found out, Coop? I was looking at footage of when he was in court, on YouTube one time, and they asked him his residence, and he said Decatur, Georgia. I was like, word? That's how I found out.
Remember the run-in with the off-duty cops? That was down here.
Yeah.
That was in Atlanta.
That was at the AUC, I thought, right?
Correct. When he lived here.
Wow. Dot with the super chat says someone on Reddit hinted at Nas and Primo dropping in a few weeks. It wouldn't surprise me, to be honest. You want to talk about this Nas album, or do you want to go to the AZ Math Hoffa?
I want to go to the AZ Math Hoffa, and at this point, we shouldn't be surprised when the GOAT's dropping albums, because...
No. He's just giving us product, man. This would be his third album this year. And,
there you go.
In years past, I would have said that's impossible, but I'm not surprised anymore. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm just saying that he's so far ahead of everybody right now that, it is what it is. Like, are you surprised that Jordan had a 45-point game?
I've been saying this shit since 96, Mike. I'm glad everybody's caught up to me finally.
I'm going to be perfectly honest, man. There was a time period, and maybe when we even started this show, I was buying into the mainstream media narratives about Nas and the whole takeover verse, or, the inconsistencies and all of that. That was wrong. And he's proven it now. And that whole bad beat picker thing is an overblown narrative too.
I just want him to get a big old school chain with a big diamond encrusted platinum goat hanging from it, Mike, so everybody just knows what time it is.
I mean, he's the best. Talk. He's the best ever.
Yeah. It's the best ever.
But speaking of the best ever, one of the moments in AZ's Math Hoffa interview that stood out to me was him talking about how he got on Illmatic, how him and Nas, connected, and the fact that back then they weren't even really looking for no deal like that. It kind of just happened.
Well, you want to know what's funny? Not to bring it up, Jay-Z spoke to this around Reasonable Doubt, and A and Math kind of spoke to it too, and they was like, yo, like, if you was out in the street, like, the street dudes was the ones that really had the money, and be like, hey, rapper, kick a little rhyme for me. And then, like, asserting themselves on the food chain. The hustler in the hip-hop culture, like, remember when LL's talking about Supreme Team?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, no, that's how it really was. It's like, no, the hustlers ran the streets, not the rappers. You know what I'm saying? The rappers were there for entertainment. For the street dudes, it was really getting to the money and living the life that the rappers was talking about. That's why G-Rap is so important. It's like, no, G-Rap was rapping and living that life. So was Rakim to a degree. You feel what I'm saying? That was different.
Yeah, because Eric B was there. Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is, too, and I think we look at it through a modern lens, but at that point, we're talking about 92, 93. There's only a few guys in hip-hop that had actually made careers out of it. You know what I mean? You had the Run DMCs, and then they kind of had come and gone at that point, respectfully. But as far as the longevity side of it, who had really displayed longevity in hip-hop around 93? You just got LL Cool J, to be honest.
I'm about to say, it's not even a longevity thing, Mike. It was a money thing, too. How many dudes are walking around rich off rap from 93?
No, you're right.
Nas and Big had both talked about, their early days about how, like, a lot of the dudes that they looked up to when they used to see him in the street was fucked up in the pocket.
Yeah. No, that's real.
These
Michael
dudes
Williams.
didn't have fun like that. Rap didn't become, like, when you're seeing the way rappers live now, it wasn't like that when we was kids. It's like, so when A is talking about it, it's like, no, I was, getting to the money.
Yeah.
Like, rap was what I did for fun.
Michael Williams
would rap like that.
And you know what? That's even more, incredible. The guys were able to make the material that they made when they didn't even think that there was a level of financial gain that was on the other end.
Like, think about what A is talking about when A's like, and listen to this, because we're going to talk about Andre real quick with it, because his name got brought up during it, and I thought it was a more striking point of the interview. When A is sitting up there talking about, yeah, like, I had done a few verses, but then I had to do an album. He's like, so 12 tracks, 3 verses? I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, yeah, that's 36 verses. Mm-hmm. That's different than stepping in the booth and doing a Life's a Bitch verse. doing a little back and forth with Nas in the studio. I'm like, no, that's different. And A spoke to how different it was. It's hard.
Listen, I am by no stretch of the imagination Andre 3000 on the mic. But I will tell you from experience, when I was in a group or whenever we would pull up and just feature on somebody's stuff, it was so much easier to just go do a 16 than sitting there coming up with a whole song yourself, having to come with 3/16. It's a whole different ball game. And I'm not sitting here saying that, everybody's done it masterfully. But what I will say is, for the ones who have done it masterfully, you can't put somebody who's never done it in the same lane as them. You can't. You can't.
Hey, Mike, I'll tell you what. When my crew used to get down, because everybody had their solo projects and group projects, Mike, I used to get on other niggas' shit for fun.
Right.
Like, my shit was serious to me. Because they'd be like, damn, why Coop be all serious when he be doing his songs and stuff? And then I get on their verses and I'd flex. But that's because I was having fun. I didn't take it that serious.
Right.
Because to just come to the studio and write one verse when you're talented, it ain't shit, Mike. I'm
exactly.
Sorry.
It shouldn't be. Michael Williams with the super chat says, does Reasonable Doubt beat the Blueprint in a track for track verses? I think it does, because the Blueprint has those holes in them. I mean, just for shits and giggles, what does Renegade run up against?
Coming of age.
Does it? Well,
yes.
Renegade wins that one. That's about the only W to get on that album.
Can't knock the Hustle's better than the Ruler's back. I still think Politics as Usual is better than the Takeover, just in a vacuum for a song.
I agree with you.
Brooklyn's Finest is better than Izzo. Dead Presidents is better than Girls.
Yeah.
Feeling It's better than Jigga That Nigga. The Evils and You Don't Know is the only real tough matchup, because those are track 6.
And You Don't Know wins that, but not by a lot.
Not by much. 22 twos versus Hola Ho Vito is 22 twos.
Yeah.
I love Heart of the City. I still think Can I Live is better than Heart of the City. It's like, no, Jay's not, yeah.
Yeah, that's tough, and I love Heart of the City. I'm going to give that to Heart of the City, but I'm not mad at it going the other way. I mean, I think both of them are top 10 Jay songs, personally. No, I'm not mad at it.
So I keep one eye open like CBS? No.
He's rapping better. He's rapping better on Can I Live. But I think...
I'm going to tell you the truth. I love Heart of the City, but I do think it's slightly overrated, Mike, and I don't have it in my top 10 Jay-Z songs.
CJ Kid with the super chat says, I watched that old Aquemini Celebration video. I always felt the ATLians was their best album. Over the years, I feel more people favor it from XV to Sheena to Big Pooh. Why do you think guys feel that is? I think that people like who they are as a group on ATLians more than who they are as a group on Aquemini. I think they had the most chemistry as MCs on ATLians.
That's their rapping ass rapper album.
Right.
So
it's their boom bap album.
Towards the rapping ass rapper album. Like, Southern Playalistic is a Southern rap album and a genre breaking album. Aquemini is a masterful, just like piece of work, period. ATLians is rapping ass rap album.
Right. If you're an Outkast fan for their rap skills, ATLians is going to be your go-to.
Speaking of which, Mike, a lot of people have been making some flute jokes, and I just want to let you know that I make better flute jokes. Listen to the songs that I've got, Mike. You want to hear my flute jokes right quick?
Go ahead.
Follow the flute. Light as a flute, Mike. Flute without pause. Flute tank playing ain't nothing to fuck with. My flute, all of the flutes. And my favorite, all flutes down. Like Heather B, all blocks down, all flutes down. Yeah. Back to the normally scheduled program, Mike.
Well, speaking of which, what all the AZ have to say about Andre and his flute album? And can you speak to that?
When niggas was sitting in the chairs and they heard it was an album that was going to be like flute playing, niggas was literally like, are you serious?
Oh, Flutes and Liquor. I like that one. Go ahead.
Not better than all flutes down. All flutes down. Because that's what he needs to do. He needs to put the goddamn flute down, pick up a microphone. But all jokes aside, Mike, Hoffa was like, nah, we ain't even about to talk about that. Like, the respect left the room. You feel what I'm saying? Because you have to understand, and if you listen to how A is talking, A was just like, A's the type of dude, he's not going to disrespect nobody, so he just got quiet. But he spent a lot of time talking about the business, and this is how niggas feed their family, and this, that, and the other. Right. And that's what I mean about how it's disrespectful in a sense. It's like, no, you got cats that's living and dying by this, and it's like, and dudes was like, are you serious? Like, it's a flute album? It's like, yeah, fam, imagine how we feel in the A. Like, the New York dudes was like, what the fuck is this nigga on? You know what I'm saying? Because it's not cool, Mike. That's what I'm saying. It's disrespectful to the culture that bred you and made you wealthy. You know what I'm saying? Like, Hoffa literally said, we don't give that airtime here. Like, the end. As in, stop talking about that nigga right now.
I don't want to give away too much of the Gip conversation that I had, but I got some level of clarity from it. What I will say, though, is...
What'd you say, Mike? You got some level of clarinet? I'm sorry, clarinet?
What I will say, though, is, like I said when we first did an episode about this, he's not our guy when it comes to this rap shit. We wanted him to be that, and he's not that. And so he never really asked to be that on the mic either. He never went out there and pulled a Kendrick Lamar and said that, you know, he was going to be this, this, and this on the mic. He never was that. And I think everybody gave him these accolades with, you know, based on his performances on these great Outkast records and his great performances on Outkast records and other records. But I think that the disrespect only comes in is when he gets put ahead of people who do take this culture to heart and put in the work. And he hasn't put in that level of work.
Like AZ, like think about
like
this.
Like an AZ, yes. He shouldn't be put ahead of somebody like an AZ. Now that's where the disrespect comes in. And that's where I feel like it's most respectful to just say that he's inapplicable for some of these lists. It's just what it is. Yeah. Not even some of these lists. An individual list. He's not applicable for an individual list.
Like, think about this. AZ has pretty much a 21-year-old with no knowledge of album making made a platinum single in 1995. Like, it's not that just Sugar Hill is a great song. It's a platinum selling single. And so it is disrespectful to put Andre ahead of a guy like A, who literally out the gate made a classic album from the jump and made a platinum single from the jump. You know, a 3-verse song.
Yeah.
By himself. Like, it's not like his hit records are with Nas. Like, Phone Tap is probably the biggest record they did together, and we just found out from the interview that was AZ's idea.
Reggie with the super chat.
I'm not giving the flutist over. No, AZ came up with the Phone Tap idea. AZ made Sugar Hill, made Do or Die. He was better than straight from then, in my mind now. When I go back and look at it, it's like, so no.
Hey, I'm not mad at that. Reggie with the super chat says, Willie D is very upset for not being invited to the Hip Hop 50 events, along with Scarface to perform hits that he co-wrote for Ghetto Boys. Yeah, that was a while back. Hopefully he's gotten past that. What I was going to say, though, I didn't like when people would try to put Black Thought and Andre in the same conversation because Black Thought technically didn't have a solo album, but Black Thought has solo works within the Roots. You know what I'm saying? Like, Never Do What They Do is him. And if we've ever seen, you know what I mean, Andre even exhibit any of those things like Tribe used to do. Phife had Butter. Even Big Boy has West Savannah. Q-Tip has Bonita. Dre never did that on any of those cast records. And the fact that people treat him like he has an OPP out there like Tretch does is wild.
I was about to say, Mike, if you actually go through the Roots catalog, I'm pretty certain I'd say about 35 to 40% of the songs are solo Thought records.
Yeah. It's not the
Like
same.
at least a third of the catalog is solo Thought records. So that's my whole thing about Thought making a solo album. It's like, oh no, I know you can get on the mic and go solo because I've been listening to you go solo on Roots albums my whole damn life.
That's like somebody saying Chuck D ain't got a solo album or something, even though he does. But let's just say, hypothetically, all his works was with Public Enemy. That's enough for me. You know what I mean? You got Welcome to the Terror Dome. That's Chuck D. You got Fight the Power. That's Chuck D. You know what I'm saying? You got Rebel Without a Pause. That's Chuck D. Even though Public Enemy's name is on it. But when it comes to Cass, Dre is really a group member. He has no individual mic performances. And I want to hear about the one song where it's like 8 minutes long where he's rapping about his whole life. I'm talking about 3 verses and a hook.
Like 4 minutes long. And quite frankly, we watch Eminem go on consistent lyrical riffs like that on almost every one of his projects. He has a song where he just goes for like 3 or 4 minutes. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, like you MC for a living. You better be able to rap for 3 or 4 minutes straight. It shouldn't be some mantra or something to hang your hat on. You know what I'm saying?
CJ Kid with the super chat says,
go ahead. I spent 3 minutes telling the story backwards, Mike.
Yeah, facts. CJ Kid with the super chat says, does it bother you guys that for the whole region of the South, that Andre is paired with Scarface as the 2 GOATs, like how Jay and Nas are paired here? Yeah, it does. It really does. Because not that I don't love Dre and not that I don't love Cass, or that I think that Dre is super skilled. He hasn't put in an iota of the work that Scarface has put in throughout his career. Koop, you went away for a second.
Mike, it's not that I have a problem with it, Mike, because I'm part of the problem. Because most of my life, I've put them and said they're the 2 best MCs that ever came out of the South. And I would give the nod to Scarface because, you know, he actually made an album. But this is where, you know, how I changed your mind about the Jay and Nas thing. You're the one that changed my mind about the Andre thing. And you're like, well, what solo material, Coop, should he even be considered to be in the top 5?
Yeah. And
every time you say, like, you understand how many times you saying that to me live in front of everybody, replays in my head. Like, I'm traumatized. I'm going to need a therapist about this one day. It's like, Armand, would you like to talk about the Andre 3000 problem? It's like, as a matter of fact, I would. I'm traumatized.
You know, I could make more excuses for it if, let's just say there were 10 other MCs that were in Andre's position. There aren't any. Anybody that we talk about in hip-hop has a song by themselves with 2 or 3 verses.
Like, how about this? It's like Master Ace, Mike.
Yeah.
Like, that's where it gets disrespectful. It gets disrespectful when you put him ahead of somebody like Master Ace, AZ. You know, even him being ahead of a Redman and a Method Man, Mike. It's like, nah, fam. Being ahead of C, Mike.
Exactly. I'm sure if someone was in the studio with Dre and they're like, look, man, you know, we got to record a solo rap record or whatever. Or let's just say you're an A&R for an Andre project. He'll go in the studio and be like, literally, I've never done this before. How do I do this, this, and this? And we're talking about basic stuff that MCs do from the gate. Like you said, AZ had to make Sugar Hill from the gate. He made Sugar Hill, what was that, nearly 30 years ago, 28 years ago now? And now we have somebody who's been in the game 30 years himself, because Players Ball just celebrated 30 years, who has literally never made one song where it's like, just him rhyming.
Forget Sugar Hill, Mike. Like, Andre doesn't have a Rather Unique. The Pete Rock joint, like, he doesn't have a lyrical exhibition like Rather Unique, Mike.
No. Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says, AZ called our bluff in a Big Fuel podcast interview. The interviewer asked for Nas AZ Cormega album. AZ responded, are y'all the fans going to actually buy it? You want stuff, but then don't support it. Hey, man, it's like people asking us about the yearbook. I'm down to do it.
Low-key was like, you know, when people was talking about the money and the math on the table, he was like, you think Nas can't put that together? He pretty much saying it's like the dude that's at the top of the food chain in their music circle. Like, if he thought it would be getting done and be worthwhile, it would get done. And here's where A is right, is it's like, oh no, like they think like businessmen and you have to respect them as businessmen.
It's their careers. Yeah.
That's why there's a firm reunion song on King's Disease 1, but why there will be no firm reunion album. What about Nas's numbers? If he's the star of the group, what about his numbers speak to the fact that they should do a firm album? Because they don't. So it won't.
And basically, man, with the firm, even though I think it'd be dope, we've already seen how the public treated the firm when it came out the first time, right? So who's to say that if they do put this together again, the niggas will shit on it again, even if it is good.
Hey, A also spoke to the math not being right on the first firm album, which went platinum.
Yeah.
He was like, financially, it didn't make sense in 1997. You think about to make sense in 2023, Mike?
Well, like Glove told you, too many logos on the CD.
Yeah, I mean, A said it during the interview. He's like, there's too many cooks in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay.
OG Winston with the super chat says, if not 3K, Scarface and who would be at the top? I mean, to be perfectly honest with you guys, I mean, it has to be Wayne and Tip.
It's Scarface, first of all.
No, I'm just saying, he said without Scarface or Dre.
Yeah, Tip and Wayne.
Yeah.
I still have Scarface over all of them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Tip and Wayne.
Speaking of which, Atlanta had are we ready to move on from the AZ topic? I know AZ's dropping Friday, so we're going to be talking more about him anyway.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to the project on Friday. He really is a different dude. He's one of those dudes that like his mystique and his energy and his reluctance to do interviews and his low-key quiet money mantra. Like, he really living that way. And so it's like there's very few dudes out here that actually like is living what they say on record, and he's one of them. So
shout out to AZ. Look forward to hearing the album. Atlanta had a Hip Hop 50, I guess, performance event, whatever you want to call it, at the Saints-Falcons game this past Sunday. Ludacris literally came from the top ropes and the top of the arena. I think he was performing Move. I think T.I. performed. Jeezy was on the bill, Jermaine Dupri. It was a whole function. And it made me think about our conversations that we have here with the fans and the reactions that an Atlanta crowd gets from certain individuals. I know people that were there, that got footage and all that stuff. Even though social media went crazy with, the way Luda came from the roof, when T.I. came out, the reaction was crazy. Same thing with Jeezy. And us talking about Busta Rhymes and some of the ways that we were, speaking, it made me think about, I guess, Luda's place in the city. And it made me think about 2 Chainz. We were just talking about the Collie Grove album, which did like 34,000 first week. Congratulations to them. I said last week I never thought I would say that I enjoy 2 Chainz music more than I enjoy Luda's. But I'm going to take it a step further. I think 2 Chainz is a better MC than Ludacris, man. And this is from somebody who's been a Ludacris fan since I heard him doing drops for DJ Nabs. Fat Rabbit on the Tim's Bio album. I think lyrically, wordplay, content, I think he's better MC than Luda. I think where I would give Luda is the freestyle and maybe the flow. But even though I do think 2 Chainz flow is pretty special too.
First of all, I'd like to shout out the Atlanta Falcons for actually winning a game that matters. It's something that rarely happens down here. It happens even less in my hometown of Carolina. They actually won a game that mattered during an important event. Shout out to the Falcons for actually winning a goddamn game that matters.
Shout out to the Falcons.
I've always liked Chainz more than Luda, Mike, because I'm always somebody that kind of values the street ethos more than the hit-making ability, because I feel like hit-making ability is a short run and the streets are going to live forever. And
nobody in the chat agrees with us, by the way, not to cut you off. We tripping. Nobody agrees with us.
I mean, yeah, but it's like when you really, really think about it, though, it's like linguistically speaking, as somebody that has a passion for words and enjoys words. The main reason I prefer Chains over Luda is about the wordplay, Mike. His wordplay has always been top notch. Um, he's fun the same way Luda is fun to me, but he's got a street sensibility to him that's different. Like when he talks about being the weed selling guy for the rappers, or when he talks about like how he went to play ball and it didn't work out. I mean, do you remember the record with Scarface on his first album?
Yeah.
Okay, so like Chains can do a record with Scarface and do a birthday song with Kanye on the same album, and it cohesively makes sense. So I think he just offers more than what Luda offers. And it's like, I'm just not a guy that's stuck on hits, Mike. It's like, no, like, I don't play area codes. I don't play What's Your Fantasy. I be playing Move Bitch sometimes, but that's just when I'm working out and I really want bitches to move.
Well, like, I mean, all right. Everybody in the chat is telling us that we're tripping, we're trolling. Can y'all tell us exactly why y'all think Luda is that much better than Chains? Like, I don't. Do you think?
Mike, set them spaces up, Mike. It's time to light niggas.
Yeah, man. We need to really talk about this, and we need to go with the bars. You guys like the bars like I got niggas scared as fuck, like when condoms break, or how your chest feels from eating 40 pounds of steak. That's dope to y'all. Like what are the bars?
Even on Move, Mike, which I think might be his best single in my opinion. Like Mystical is definitely the scene stealer.
Oh, of course he is.
It's not even conversational. Is Move Bitch even the classic that it is without Mystical on there? Let's keep it 100.
I want the people in the chat. I mean, you ain't even got to super chat it. I want y'all to give me Luda's toughest bars. Because I can give you some of Chain's toughest bars.
Mike, the Made You Look remix is actually his toughest bar work that I ever heard. As far as just like a 16-bar verse.
Shit out on the streets like evicted tenants. I mean...
Yeah.
It's cool. I mean, it's cool. I think it's more about the flow and the delivery. But if we're actually breaking down the bars, like what 2 Chainz say when he was like smoking on that Lee Haney, sipping on that Harpo. Like, no, that's something different, man. Like
I'm trying to think about how Chainz verse go on the What They Want on Schoolboy's first album on Oxymoron.
Yeah.
When I was dodging the pole lights, when I was pole with no lights, when I was pole with potential. Yeah.
Or like, or when the nigga was like, good times, rocking J's, smoking J's, I'm the rap Ernie Barnes. Like Ernie Barnes is the artist that made the good times painting JJ. Correct. Like, give me the ludicrous bars that are like that. I think y'all sleeping on the way this man puts words together.
Even when... Like, let's even go to, like, some of his stuff when he's being entertaining. Like, listen to him on No Lie, Mike.
Yeah.
When he bring them in, them whole things. Tupac without a nose ring. Thug life. One wife. A mistress and a girlfriend. No, that shit's different, Mike.
His verse on Mercy. Mercy came on yesterday, and it made me think. I was like, yeah, he's better than Luda. It is what it is.
Mike, how about Ali Boumaier?
Oh, my God. Oh my God.
Come on, man.
No, man, come on, man, for real. And the longevity of his musical career really trumps, I mean, Luda's musical career twofold, to be perfectly honest.
You know what? We need to do a Twitter Spaces where we're going to pick Chain's 20 best records.
Yeah.
Chain's 20 best verses.
I want to go with the bars.
Versus the 20 best songs.
Because everybody in here always talk about the bars. Y'all ain't got no Luda bars for me. I'm giving you Chainz bars. Coop's giving you Chainz bars.
Yeah. Y'all ain't got no bars.
Where the bars at? Y'all talking about the hits. I got you. I mean, those hits were good for the time, but where the bars at? Michael Sanders with the super chat says, I don't care what Gibbs says about Andre to Def N, his Flute album. That's a part of the issue. People are not holding him accountable. Just justifying his bullshit. Mad Max in the super chat says Luda is better, has a better voice, better flow, and better bars. What are the bars, people? Y'all have access to the whole internet. Find me the bars y'all are talking about.
I'm about to say, Michael ripping off the top of our head.
Yeah, we didn't study this.
I suggest you use it.
Somebody said, I wish a nigga would like a kitchen cabinet. Okay, but where are the Luda bars? Give me the Luda bars. I'm just asking. Reggie with the super chat says, Mike and Coop, 2 Chainz playlist versus the chat's Luda playlist. Any day.
Yeah. We'll be done with that by tonight.
And I will say this, Luda stands a better chance if we're going song for song, but I'm talking about the wordplay. Give me the bars.
I'm not so sure of that. Like, think about this. It's like, hold on, Mike. You think the birthday song's still getting played? Or you think What's Your Fantasy still getting played?
They both are still getting played, but I think that the birthday song is actually the stronger song between the two.
It is, Mike. That's what I'm saying.
I want to get you in the Georgia Dome in the 50-gallon line while the Dirty Bears kick up a tree. And if you like it in the club, we can do it in the DJ booth or in the back of the VIP. Y'all talking about flow. Y'all talking about how things sound. You know what I'm saying? Michael Sanders with the super chat says, 2 Chainz, I bust on the chestnut. That's why we don't take him seriously. LOL. But it was cool when it was said on the Chronic, though, right?
Right. Or it's cool
on these nuts, like right?
Luda got bars like that.
Yeah.
Luda got bars like that.
Yeah. The nigga said, I got people scared as fuck like when condoms break or where your chest feels from eating 40 pounds of steak. Come on, man. It's like, I feel great. Is that the guy you guys are vouching for the bars? Like, come on, guys. Where are the bars? Born King.
Mike, show me the guest appearance like Ali Boumaier or What They Want with Schoolboy. Like, just show it to me.
Because people are saying the potion, he's giving you bars. Give me the actual bars. Y'all got the internet at your disposal. Right. It's 337 against 2. Give us the bars.
Where y'all at?
Born King of the Super Chat says 2 Chainz is just a more Atlanta and gotta be from here to understand. Yeah, Born King says 2 Chainz is just more Atlanta. You got to be from here to understand. Leroy Green with the super chat says, Mike.
We're not talking about who's more Atlanta, quite frankly. We're talking about who's better.
Again, give me something against Good Times, Rockin' J's, Smoking J's, I'm the Rap Ernie Barnes. If I had a canvas, it'd be Melee, Firearms, Mighty Cone. No, give me the Luda moment like that. If she bad, I invite her home. What he said? He said, rims tall like, what'd he say? Rims tall like Kevin Hart, ride along. Like, it's just going. Like, give me the Luda bars like that. Everything's pasting together. Leroy Green with the super chat says, Mike, 2 Chainz is throwing punchlines almost every 4 bars. So you mean to tell me that you ain't come from watching Luda? It could, but Chainz does it better. Or one could say that when Chainz was around, maybe he was throwing Luda those punchlines. Because when Chainz went and did his own thing, Luda didn't have the punchlines anymore.
Or maybe, Mike, maybe when Luda heard Chainz is part of how Chainz never really got any run because he looked at Chainz and be like, man, this dude could take my spot, take my whole place.
And he actually did.
My whole place.
He actually did.
And then he did. Think about it. When have you ever seen a rapper down here signed to somebody like Luda, and then after their time with them, they become one of the biggest stars in Atlanta?
It never really happens. It never really happens.
Never happens.
Mall7 with the super chat says, what up, fellas? I often hear people say Luda spits better than T.I., but I don't think so. What do y'all think? I'm with you. I don't think so either. And again, I ask, where are the bars? Because I could go with T.I. too. A-Town veteran, started at 11, went and bought an 8-ball. I've been staying down ever since. That's why it's hard to find another rap nigga better than the Bankhead resident, Westside represent, Pimp Squad mobster, Grand Hustle president, heart of a lion and the nuts of an elephant. Give me the Luda bars, please.
Tip is a top 5 Southern MC. Fuck that Atlanta shit you talking.
Right.
The top 5 MC coming out of this region all time. The only people that literally have a tangible argument ahead of him is Scarface and Wayne. Tangible. He would be 3rd right now.
NY Bias Media. Oh, man. I love it. Hold on. We got a comment from NY Bias Media. I love the name. Love the name. 2 Chainz has too many reach bars. Luda's verse on O clears 2 Chainz' catalog. Talking about Southern
Okay,
styles
so
get wild, old school's coming down in a different color whip. Y'all talking about style again. Picture
okay,
perfect. You might want to take a flick, 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 flick. We're talking about style. Where are the bars?
no. I like the New
I
York
like the
Lions media
verse.
because now we have somebody talking dumber than Mad Max is talking. Mad Max is now in second place on the dumbass shit list today.
Somebody mentioned roll out. Okay.
I like Rollout.
I love the song, but again, where are the
Rollout,
bars?
get out my
Uh
business.
and the bigger the cap, the bigger the pillin', the better I'm feeling, the more that I'm chilling, willing, drilling, and killing the feeling. Now who's that bucket naked? Cook, fixing 3-course meals. Getting goosebumps on her body taps to 6-inch chills. Now that was clever. That was clever, naming all the strip clubs at the time and putting it in a sentence.
Beautiful.
Yeah. 2 Chainz got that in spades.
Spades.
In spades.
Trump type.
Okay.
Trump type.
I know we got to go in a minute. Nas released, well, do I even say Nas released it? Because I don't know who released this I Am double album. Do you want to do the intro for this? Because I know you probably have a lot of the information.
Feels like Sony did this for one.
Okay.
I think a couple things I want to address with it is like everybody's like, well, this isn't the copy.
Okay.
It's like, first of all, there was a lot of copies because it's the most bootleg rap album of all time. So, this, to my best knowledge, was the first original copy. I told you I had this copy, and right after Fetus, it went into an interlude with the Nas's like beat playing in the background, telling him to stop stealing this shit. And then, Mike, if I'm not mistaken, the only thing that was missing is here, it went into Find Your Wealth that ended up on the QB's Finest soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of this project played like this. And so, like, Find Your Wealth and that little interlude was what the original bootleg was. But there's like 4 or 5 versions of this bootleg, Mike, is what's really going on. You know what I'm saying? And I think the only thing that's ever going to clear up the mystique about it is if he talks about it. Good luck with that shit, by the way. But I mean, Mike, and I'm being dead ass serious when I say this. I think Steve Stout did this shit, Mike. I feel like him and Nas was having a falling out. Nas wasn't making the type of records that he thought he should make. He was starting to hang with J-Ass, and his way of getting back at Nas for the fallout was bootlegging this shit.
Okay, let's rewind. You feel all right.
The song?
Oh, rewind. You were working at a record store at this time, right? And so you heard this original I Am, and it was a double album, or at least a lot of the songs on it. And you feel that if this album was released in the way that it should have been released, it changes the course of history. I mean, can you speak to some of that?
Well, I mean, I think if you take the original version that I heard and then couple that with Illmatic and It Was Written, it's very much the best 3-run solo album run an artist has ever had in hip-hop as far as dropping his first 3 albums. Because I think the standard for a long time was Paid in Full, Follow the Leader, Let the Rhythm Hit Him, and rightfully so.
Right.
I think this version, first of all, It Was Written's better than Follow the Leader. Illmatic's better than Paid in Full. Or it's arguable, depending on what era you come from. Even if you want to call Illmatic and Paid in Full a wash, because people from Raw there is going to say, well, Paid in Full is the Illmatic for its time. That's fair. So let's say we washing that. It Was Written is better than Follow the Leader. Well, this version of I Am that I had, not that shit that got released, that's better than Let the Rhythm Hit Him. And so I think the GOAT talk really would have started more right there. But also, too, listen to what I'm saying. This album is the most heavily bootlegged album ever, and it still sold 3 million copies. How many records does he sell if it doesn't get bootlegged? He does 4 or 5 mil or 6 million records. Not as a double, Mike. Let's just say it comes out as a single solo shot. Oh, no, he going to do 4, 5, 6 mil because he did 3 mil with all the bootlegging.
So, with that being said, is Hate Me Now on this version? Because Hate Me Now, I feel like, had a lot to do with selling that album. Does this album sell without Hate Me Now on? Yeah,
it does. Because I don't think people really got to hear the original version of Project Window, which is just a better single than Hate Me Now. And to be honest with you, it's like, Mike, I think Nas is like sold this album because for the people who didn't care for It Was Written, keep in mind, It Was Written is still being heavily criticized when I Am's coming out.
Right.
And for the people who wanted Illmatic Nas, if you heard Nas is like, Game probably felt the need to go support it in a way that you didn't before to make sure that he didn't make If I Rule the World and Street Dreams and dress up in pink suits and shit again.
I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, brother. Nas is Like sold me on the album back in the day. I remember seeing the video for Nas is Like, and I felt like I might have missed a Nas record somewhere or something. I thought it was old. You know what I'm saying?
It very much sounds like, Mike, how about this? If you were to put Nas is like right before It Ain't Hard to Tell on Illmatic, it's like, no, it fits right. You know, like it fits on Illmatic. It is very much Illmatic-like. And so I think for the people, like Illmatic has its lore by now. And so I think Nas is Like is a bigger selling point than Hate Me Now. Hate Me Now is a big crossover single, but also people forget this. Ronald Isley in 1998 had witnessed a resurgence.
He did.
So think about how many Isley fans would have gravitated towards him being on a Nas joint. You get what I'm saying?
No, you're right. Because this is right after Download where he was Mr. Biggs on there, right?
Mr. Biggs right now. He's making a big comeback. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, that would have garnered the same type of attention just in a different way because Project Windows is a more Illmatic type of song.
LP with the super chat. Hold on. My bad.
More ill-ish.
LP with the super chat says, y'all said Cube was a better rapper than Biggie. When the fans brought up bars, y'all said it wasn't just about that. This is not the same argument. No, because Luda doesn't have the Ice Cube catalog. No, it's not the same argument.
No, I'm about to say, you didn't say it's not. It was better because he got the opportunity to make a greater catalog.
Right.
We didn't say in a better rhymer than Big. I think very few people in a vacuum are a better rhymer than Big.
Straight up.
I don't think Jay is better than Big, but I have Jay ranked higher.
Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says, oink, oink, pig, pig, do away with the pork. Only silverware I need is a steak knife and a fork. That's deep.
Yeah.
And that's one of his strongest verses, too. I think that the Welcome to Atlanta verse is one of the strongest verses from him. And yes, oink, oink, pig, pig, do away with the pork. This is who you guys are vouching for against Chainz. Anyway, back to the double disc. You want to go to the track list? And I want to see how official, I guess, this track list is based on what you remember hearing. And like you said, it's a multitude of tracks that were supposed to be on this. Do you think this final decision that's being made by Sony is accurate, or what do you think?
Yes, I think this is probably the first version of the album that got sent to them. That's part of why they're releasing it, Mike. Like, they're releasing these songs for a reason. This is probably the project that he handed to them first. Right. Because you also have to think about it, too. What do you do if your album's getting bootlegged and you're in trouble and people don't like your last album like that, even though it's brilliant? You might go back to what you know. So the first thing you might do is call DJ Premier and make Nas Is Like and make New York State of Mind Part 2. New York State of Mind Part 2 doesn't get made if this is going on. He doesn't do a record with DMX if this is going on. He don't do no damn Hate Me Now with Puff if this is going on. He don't, Mike. This was the original version that got sent. I told you the only record that's actually missing on here that was on mine was Find Your Wealth was on the copy that I had. And I remember that because I can remember it was Fetus. It went into the interlude riffing where he was actually like, it's one of the few times I've ever actually heard him angry. You know what I'm saying? And then it went Find Your Wealth and then the rest of this plays. But Mike, these records were probably the original submission. And Steve Stout probably the one that submitted it. And he did some hater shit, Mike. That's my prognostication. And I would love to hear Nas actually come out and talk about it. Because somebody close to him leaked this shit. And it wasn't Sony, because Sony stood the most to gain financially from him selling 3, 4, 5, 6 million records. So I don't want to hear nothing about nobody in the offices of Sony Columbia doing this shit. I don't want to hear no shit about Jungle doing this shit. All signs point to Stevie. Stevie.
I'm going to get to this track list real quick, but somebody said Fatty Girl. And I just want to give a couple of bars from there. Girl, you taste like a Cinnabon. So sweet from the thighs to the cheek. Sex on the beach. Check the size of my meat. Call me the butcher. Ludacris, King Dingaling. That's what y'all going with? Come on, guys. CJ Kid with the super chat says, not to change the topic, but if West Savannah was on Southern Playalistic, where would it rank as far as the best track on that album? That's a very good question. It would be up there. It would be up there. West Savannah's strong.
Ain't No Thing, Crumbling Earth, Hootie Hoo, Get Up, Get Out are still better. So I'd say best case scenario is fifth. It's not better than those 4 records.
I don't know, bro.
It's not.
It's not better than Hootie Hoo.
Or Crumbling Earth. Crumbling Earth.
I love Crumbling Herb. I think West Savannah and Crumbling Herb are on a similar level, but maybe because they have a similar makeup. But yeah, and the only reason why I say that because West Savannah is a lot more personal than Crumbling Herb is. I think when you make a record like West Savannah, you can only make a record like that one time. Big Boy was letting us know who he was, where he was from, what he's about.
I think if you're swapping out a record, a comp for it, it's comparable to Claiming True.
I was gonna say Claiming True's got to go, and I love Claiming True. That's how great this album is.
Classic, Mike.
I think the weakest song on the album, and I say this respectfully, I think is "Call It a Wild," but I understand why.
Yeah.
I understand why "Call It a Wild" has to stay.
It's not better than Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music either, so I don't think it's a top 5.
It's not.
It's not.
No. Now that one, I'm with you on. Leroy Green with the super chat says, "Folks laughing, but if Luda was in a cipher and we was all back in 1999, 2000, a lot of them would be in trouble. MVP, Beast Mode, Undisputed, Hip Hop Quotables, bars. Y'all still ain't giving me no bars."
Everybody acting like Luda can't rap. First of all, y'all not giving us no bars because y'all don't know the bar work themselves, and the bar work y'all are remembering. Y'all are reciting it to yourself right now, and it's like, okay, so his
that's not gonna play well.
Right.
You try to type it out, you're like, well, that's not gonna work.
Right. Right. And when everybody's trying to disrespect Luda, I've always looked at Luda as more of Atlanta's first real big hit maker.
Yeah, he was our first solo star in hip hop. Period.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that, Mike. But he not Chains on the mic. No, he's not. He's not Chains. 2 Chains.
Mom7 with the super chat says Nas not releasing the original I Am album created a narrative that he fell off, and a lot of people still say today, which is crazy, it did create that narrative. And you know what? That's something that should have never happened.
Can I speak to something right quick?
Sure.
This is what I mean about this hurt him. Do you realize how many songs he made in this short period of time? Mm-hmm. When people were talking about his work ethic and his beat picking. Do these beats sound bad to you?
Is Nas like bad beat picking?
Is Small World bad beat picking? Is Fetus bad beat picking?
Well, let me go through the track list real quick. This is what actually made it. Fetus, Small World, Money Is My Bitch, Project Windows, Papa Was a Player, which is a dope beat, by the way.
It is. That's Kanye, ain't it? Kanye co-produced that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And I wasn't even just saying that because, me being, trying to slip Kanye into the show. I forgot for real.
You can't I vote for Kanye. We're all wrong.
Dr. Knockboot. Now, that wasn't the best beat. Daydreaming.
Rap Masters, Mike.
Yeah. Daydreaming, Stay Scheming. Sometimes I Wonder. Hardest Thing to Do is Stay Alive. Drunk by Myself.
Hard.
I Want to Play Rough. Blaze of 50. We Will Survive. Blaze of 50 sounds like it's the second to last song on an album. So I tend to believe that right there might have been very accurate.
They have no reason to release this in any other form than probably the original masters that they got. Because here's the thing. He probably didn't trust anybody after that first one and probably started keeping it to himself and not handing it to the label. So this is probably the stuff they have the original masters to, Mike.
Yeah.
They don't have the original masters to Nas's Like, because you want to know why? Because he ain't make Nas's Like until he realized this shit was being pirated and he had to start scrambling. He was trying to move on to a different phase. The bootlegging forced him to go back. Like, how about this? Illmatic is the kid from the Project Window. You know what I'm saying? I Am is about what the kid's life was actually like. Like, it's not... Illmatic is about the kid looking out and telling you what Queensbridge is like. I Am is him telling you what he is like. What Nas is like. That's what I'm saying. The whole theme of the album, I Am. Like, he's explaining the kid that ended up making Illmatic on this album. That's what it is.
So, I mean, from what I'm hearing from you,
because Steve Stout wanted to compete and seeing Jay had just did 5 mil, and he probably wasn't okay with Nas taking that type of reflective, Illmatic type of direction to a project, because he's thinking, that shit ain't gonna sell no records. I'll just help you sell 2.5 million records because we made If I Rule the World and Street Dreams. And so this album doesn't have very many Street Dreams or If I Rule the World inspired records, and I think Stout was mad and he bootlegged this shit.
What I would like to hear, I would like to hear Stout's take on I Am. I mean, we've heard him speak on It Was Written and those successes, but you're right. It makes you think with the theme that, you know, this was supposed to take on, the growth of this artist at this stage was stunted because, you know, people were trying to sell records.
Think about this. You go from starting off an album with the message in Street Dreams to literally explaining your birth on the first record.
Mm-hmm.
The whole ethos of the album was supposed to be that, and Steve Stout, being the businessman that he is, probably bootlegged this album, Mike, because Nas speaks to it briefly on Last Real Nigga Alive. Had lost trust for Steve Stout till I got to know him. Well, Mike, when did Godson come out?
That was 2002.
Mike, that's only 3 years after this album. When did he lose trust exactly? Probably right around now. About what? Maybe the bootlegging of this album, Mike.
Because we have to ask ourselves, back then, how did the bootlegs get out? Now, from what I've heard, well,
like Steve Stout.
This is what I'll say. This is what I've heard, you know, from people in the industry. They used to have to give out promo copies to like the Source magazines, because magazines had to, you know, back then, if you had a magazine, you had to have the album way ahead of time to be able to do a review on it so that it could go to stands and by the time that the album's out. So they're getting promo copies. I would imagine other people in the industry are getting promo copies. But I would also imagine when you have a commodity like this, it's very locked down. And I don't see how any bootleggers would be able to get their hands on it. There has to be a leak somewhere. And you're right. That leak has to be high up. It's not just one of your homies. Why would your homies even do that anyway? Who benefits from this? And that's what you have to look at. Who's actually going to benefit from this?
Right. Because if he's thinking about, I don't know, maybe switching managers and going back to his more introspective style, maybe the manager did it. Who was the manager, by the way? Boom, 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 boom. He literally mentioned Steve Stout on Blaze of 50. Trackmasters produced Dr. Knockboot, and it's signed Nature. So it's definitely being managed by him. And also, I don't know if you noticed too, Mike, Trackmasters ain't really on I Am the way they're on It Was Written.
Fact.
Who Trackmasters managed by? Right. And so I may be prognosticating, but I'm not prognosticating coming from Mike, where there's smoke, there's fire. The only song that I heard of before this album got bootlegged was Project Window, and that's because they bought it up in Vibe magazine, which means that the label probably had a copy of Project Window and Dr. Knockboot, and that was the promo that was floating around. Not the whole damn album, Mike. Whole damn albums don't float around in 1998, 99. I'm sorry.
Well, I think the other part of this, and I'm going to get to the super chats in 1 second. If this album exists in this way, Nostradamus never happens. Right? At least not in that form. So it's already not a great idea to have leftover tracks and putting them on a whole nother album. I don't think that's ever really successfully happened. But see, my question is, Coop, I don't understand why, if these songs were bootlegged, why did they recycle them a year later and put them on a whole nother album? If it's about not putting out the records that got bootlegged, why did these songs even end up on Nostradamus in the first place?
Well, that's the thing, Mike. The only thing that really ended up on Nostradamus is Project Window.
But it wasn't even the version that was... Yeah,
correct.
It's just all bad.
The version, because, Mike, they changed the version because, think about it. He looked at that as a potential first single for his album. It had been the Vibe. Vibe was even talking about in the little snippet for the album how it was more Illmatic inspired. It is. The song's Project Window, Mike. Fetus, Project Window, Papa Was a Player.
Right.
Drunk by Like, that's the record that we're missing that was on there. Drunk by Myself.
I was gonna say because a lot of that stuff ended up on the lost tapes too, and it was dope.
Yeah, wasn't nothing lost about it.
Critical Mass with the super chat says,
up on QB's Finest, Mike. He was making so much material, it was ridiculous.
Critical Mass with the super chat says, with the leak have affected sales that much though? That's what I always say. And again, back then, and I guess we can't really fathom it in today's terms, but they had their projections on the artist and the album, and they didn't want to take any chances based on, the fact that people heard songs that were already, they were about to be released. Because the thing about buying an album, you wanted to go out there and buy an album full of all new stuff that you didn't hear. Now, you got the hardcore fans that are going to get it anyway, but they're trying to get all the fans. So they didn't want to take any chances that a record's been in the streets. And, you might not buy the album because of that. Because you'd be like, oh, I already heard this.
I remember when I bought the copy of I Am that came out, and I turned around and I looked on the back and I said, what in the fuck is this?
And then you probably listened to it and said it again. Anthony with the super chat says, what chances do you give on the possibility of Nas releasing the double LP as the 25th anniversary? I say slim to none. This is a storytelling album, for real, fire. What do you think?
I don't know.
I hope it happens. I don't know either.
Just remember flipping that album over and just being like, what the fuck is this? The only thing that made me happy, I was like, oh, he got a record with Scarface. I was like, well, what the fuck is the rest of this?
Well, I think that the allure of this continues on with there not being anything confirmed. Do you know what I mean? So if he never speaks on this, the allure of this double album just grows. But I feel like if we get some level of confirmation from somewhere, then it kind of closes a chapter. But I would love to talk to some people that were around during that period. I'm sure everybody has a bunch of different stories.
You understand? I only want to hear the shit come out his mouth. I don't care about the goddamn songs anymore. I want him to come out and confirm who the fuck bootlegged this shit. Because it's been 25 years and he knows.
Well, do you want to hear Steve Stout's side of this?
Hell no.
I would love to hear it. I'm interested to hear it.
Look here, man. Mike, when somebody lies to you once, I'm going to say less.
Patricio with the super chat says, oh, go ahead.
No, I said, no, I don't want to hear what Steve Stout got to say about it. I don't give a fuck what Steve Stout has to say. Because the type of nigga that'll jump around from Nas camp to J camp is the type of nigga that'll bootleg an album. It's like you only got one time to get slick with it with me.
Patricio with the super chat says, Mike, cool. We had a Luda T.I. debate last week, and I realized that y'all were right. Ran through T.I.'s catalog to refresh my memory, and he's probably is better. Shout out to T.I. for checking his son yesterday too.
Ain't no probably, but okay.
Born King with the super chat says, Mega never liked Stout. He wanted to force Mega into his management.
Yeah, and Mega went with Violator, Chris Lighty.
He sure did. I forgot all about that.
That's how he ended up on Def Jam, if memory serves.
CJ Kid with the super chat says, when you got that retail version, did you frisbee it after the first listen, Coop?
It's just not as cohesive or as beautifully written as the original version of I Am. That's what I'm saying.
We used to throw disc on the freeway, man.
I didn't do that. I was a fan.
Oh, no. I didn't do that to his album. But I'm just saying, well, we got a CD that we didn't like. Yeah.
I literally played the bootleg until my girlfriend in college broke it. And she swears she broke it by accident. But we was kind of breaking up. And that nigga did that on purpose. And then I started the regular version of I Am because I had no copy of the bootleg to play anymore. Nobody play no original. If you had a copy of the bootleg, you was not walking around playing I Am unless you was like literally riding in your whip trying to impress some girls that didn't know no better. If you was like, yeah.
No, facts. I mean, is that everything? I mean, I think we kind of covered just about everything on the docket, man.
I mean, Mike, between Andre and the Nas bootleg, it's like it just traumatized my whole, like, I'm going to have to go talk to somebody, Mike.
Well, The Busta Rhymes, man, like I said, I know I might not have sounded like I was a fan on here, but I'm genuinely a Busta Rhymes fan. And to see an artist that you were once a fan of continuously, I don't want to say decline, but it's tough for a hip hop listener. Like, even though I know that some of Ghost's stuff, who's another one of my favorite MCs, it's not Supreme Clientele level. It's quality. You know what I mean? It's Ghost, and I'm happy to hear from them. And like somebody said earlier, I'm happy they're active, but I don't see Ghost out here making songs with Kodak Black. And again, nothing against Kodak if it's genuine and if it's something that comes together organically. But forcing yourself on a record with people that you clearly don't mesh well with, nobody wins. That's just my piece on that. And again, I know we're harder on some of the MCs that we're fans of, but that's just the game, man.
To whom much is given, Mike, much is expected.
For sure.
And that's not a pop thing. That's a life thing.
Yeah.
Like, people expect more from according to hip hop because we've become a voice in the independent circuit. To whom much is given, much is expected. That applies to me. That applies to you. Mm-hmm. That applies to Busta. That applies to the homie All Flutes Down. Like, it applies to Nas speaking up about this 25-year-old bootlegging problem finally. It applies.
So you want to hear Nas say something about it?
Yeah, I don't want to hear the shit from nobody else. Like, what the hell? Like, Steve Stout's a politician and a very astute businessman. You know what I'm saying? It's like, nah, give me the dude that got bootlegged. Because here's the thing about it. When you're an artist, don't tell me that he's emotionally not tied to some of what happened to him still. He might be over it, but if he were to speak on it, I guarantee you some of the emotions about it would come out.
Well, let me say this, and I'm going to say this and we can leave. The bootlegging of Illmatic actually worked in his favor. It's kind of like the Tom Brady stuff, right? Where people talk about...
It did.
Huh?
No, it didn't. How many copies did Illmatic sell?
Well, I'm going to say from a quality standpoint, because they were going to keep certain records because of the bootlegging. They had to rush it and they slimmed it down. Some of them songs that were going to make it on Illmatic without the bootlegging, I think would have gotten in the way from it being a perfect album. Now, granted, sales, yes, that did do that. But some of those records that were going to make Illmatic, I don't think the album would have been as classic if some of those would have made it. I love Deja Vu.
Like a villain, Deja Vu?
Mm-hmm. I like Deja Vu. I like I'm a Villain, but I don't think it makes the album better.
I don't think those tracks would have made the album had they not been bootlegged just about quality control, right. Mike. Because the thing, he's rapping his ass off on all of those records.
Oh, straight up.
Production-wise, Deja Vu and I'm a Villain aren't like up to snuff.
Exactly.
With the stuff production-wise on Illmatic. So that's where it didn't fit. It wasn't his rhymes.
No, because if Deja Vu makes it, then we don't have Verbal Intercourse in the way that we got it either. So that's a benefit. You know what I mean?
I'm saying. So that was about the beats. That wasn't about the bootlegging for me.
Right. No, I agree with that because he's clicking on all cylinders.
300,000 copies, like.
Well, I mean, we've had this argument on Illmatic before, and maybe we can close out on the Doggy Style, anniversary tip. But I think as great of an album as Illmatic is, what is the song in 1994 that is going to sell that album after, we got Wu-Tang with Cream on the radio and Snoop Dogg with all this Doggy Style shit on the radio?
That's fair, Mike. But, first of all, taking a Michael Jackson sample in 1993-94 is a viable way to sell a rap album. So it ain't hard to tell. It's sellable. There's this whole record called The World Is Yours, Mike.
Dope record.
That literally has a sing-along back-and-forth chorus. Whose world is this? The world is yours. The world is yours. It's mine. It's mine. It's mine. It's not like it's complicated. It's very much sellable.
In your opinion?
Status. It's at least gold status. Like the record alone should have went gold.
In your opinion, if we're taking two records to radio, are you taking The World Is Yours to radio or Sugar Hill?
taking Sugar Hill, but Sugar Hill
Okay.
partly got made the way that it did, probably because AZ was there somewhat from the Illmatic tour that he talked about,
Right.
and saw that unfold.
Yeah.
That's
I
why
agree
he's
with
like,
you.
no. That's why he's like, no, I'm gonna do Sugar Hill and have Miss Jones sing the hook, and I'm gonna make my Pete Rock record the B side. That's Rather Unique. Rather Unique's the B side to Sugar Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
No, I
So
agree.
that's just learning mistakes of how the game gets played.
CJ Kid with the super chat says OGIM is greater than Supreme Clientele.
See,
Listen,
that's why Nas needs to be. Let's not do
don't
that.
get me to talking. I mean, I'm just gonna say no off jump, but
Let's not do
yeah.
that. Let's do that.
Okay, before we get out of here, Doggy Style celebrated 30 years, 30-year anniversary of Snoop Dogg's debut album, Doggy Style, which is one of the greatest hip hop albums of all time. In my personal opinion, it's a top 5 hip hop album all
Yeah.
time. It is probably the bangingest, from beginning to end, hip hop album there is. Now, I saw an article that it was naming the 9 most impactful albums of the 90s. They had the Chronic on there instead of Doggy Style. Now, are you okay with the Chronic being put there, or do both of them need to be there? What would you say are the 9 most impactful hip hop albums of the 90s?
I've said this before. There's only one person that can say that they've been involved with 2 of the 10 best rap albums ever, and his name is Snoop. Oh, and Nas, because Nas is on the Purple Tape. But I'm talking about as far as like a heavy contributor.
Right.
No. Both of those albums belong on your top 9. Like, when I mean, like, how about this? In terms of, like, rap albums all time, and I go back and forth between where I would put, like, how about this? For me, the only albums that I heard that I think are better than Doggy Style, for sure, is Illmatic and the Purple Tape. And maybe on a good day, Paid in Full or Equimini. So it's an easy top 5 album for me.
Yeah.
Like, top 5 album. And I said this, me and Andrew just did our second live show on Saturday. I said this is like part of my problem with Andre and this whole flute thing is an album like Doggy Style got made and Snoop never left rap. Like, so I said this on Mirror
He
Music.
was a roster at one point, but he never, I know what you mean.
No, he never mastered his craft, Mike, because he never mastered making a solo album. We don't know if he can do 3 verses and a hook by himself, so he's not a master of his craft. That's period, point blank.
No, I said Snoop was a roster at one point.
Oh, yeah. So here's, when I got hired at the airport, Mike, because I'm an ambitious type of guy, I went to my boss right after training, like the first day of training. I was like, what do I need to do to move up here? Boss, she looked back at me and she said, master what you are already doing well first, and then let's have a conversation. Mike, Snoop Dogg from the jump, Deep Cover, The Chronic, Doggy Style, Masterclass, Mike. So if Snoop never wanted to rap again after Doggy Style and be a Rasta, sell sex toys, I don't give a fuck.
Mm-hmm.
He made The Chronic. He made Doggy Style. He's earned the right to do that shit.
He's hip-hop's biggest superstar because of those albums.
First big superstar and still the biggest superstar today. That's called mastering your craft. That's why other people don't get to go off and make instrumentation albums that we meditate, do yoga, and fall asleep to. Because you didn't make a Doggy Style. That's one of the 5 best rap albums ever. Mike, it is the most catchy rap album ever. Because everybody, whether they're a fan of hip-hop or not, knows at least 3 or 4 verses on the song.
You know these songs. You know these songs.
You know these songs.
CJ Kid with the super chat says, isn't Ray on 2 of them with Into the 36 and the Purple Tape?
That's fair, but Ray is not the contributor to Enter the way Snoop is on the Chronic. In fairness, that would probably go to Method Man and Old Dirty Bastard. But very astute point by CJ the Kid. That is notable that Ray is part of the Purple Tape and Enter, and those are 2 of my top 10 as well.
Well, you got singles like Gin and Juice, What's My Name, Doggy Dog World, Murder Was the Case. It Ain't No Fun wasn't even a single. We didn't even have a video for that. You hear that to the end of time. The Shizniks on there. G's Up, Hoes Down is on there. Serial Killer, one of my favorites, is on there. What's
Mike,
your favorite? Huh?
on there. Murder Was the Case is on there.
What's your favorite song on Doggy Style?
My personal favorite is the Shiznit, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's the best beat on the album. How about this? What the Shiznit is on like a gangster rap party album is kind of like what 22 Twos is on the Hustlers album on Reasonable Doubt. It's just a rap song.
Right.
It's Snoop in his rap bag. You know what I'm saying? And so the Shiznit is my personal favorite, Mike. But Mike, there's something about Murder Was the Case. Like, you seen what Murder Was the Case did to DMX, God bless his soul? You seen when he dropped Murder Was the Case, what happened?
Yeah.
You're not that record, Mike. You're not.
And you know what? And hats off to Dre, too. Dre's production just is different, man.
See, this is what I'm saying about it. It's so iconic. Even the gangster shit on there, people know the words too. As I look up at the sky, my mind starts tripping. Tear drops my eye.
My body temperature falls.
Shaking, and they breaking, trying to
say the dog.
Knows this, you know, like it's full of quotables, Mike. I got bitches in the living room getting it on, and
6 a.m. Mall 7.
There's so much drama in the LBC. It's kind of hard being Snoop D'd up,
like these are the first time these words are being said.
Right, from the depths of the sea, back to the Snoop Doggy Dog Funky at the doc.
Went solo on that ass, but it's still the same.
Y'all know these records.
Oh, what about this? Guess who's back in the motherfucking house?
That's what I'm saying. It's like literally, like you want to talk about hip hop quotables. That is the hip hop quotable album. As in everybody quotes that album. Like people used to quote the Gin and Juice video, Snoop Doggy Dogg. You need to get a jobby job.
Right.
I don't remember that. That was Carl Witherspoon, God rest his soul, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yep. Mall 7 with the super chat says, my top 5 albums are Illmatic, Doggy Style, The Chronic, Cuban Links, and It Takes a Nation of Millions. I love that top 5.
Love that top 5. Love that for you.
Well, we'll see you guys Wednesday, man. Great checking in with y'all. The GIP interview should be up tonight. Thumbs up in the chat. Well, not thumbs up in the chat. Hit like and subscribe. And join the tribe. We got one more super chat from CJ Kidd before we get out of here. He says, doesn't Ray appear the most on 36 Chambers? Damn near a Ray featuring Wu-Tang album. Probably why Purple Tape is loved, because 36 Chambers Part 2. Ray was all over Wu-Tang forever too, man. Ray is probably the most rapping is rap nigga in Wu.
He is. He's the rap guy in Wu, but he's not the star of Enter the Wu-Tang. That's Method Man and Old Dirty Bastard. Like I'm sorry, like Ray didn't sell that album. Meth and Dirt sold that album. Like star power, charisma. Nothing against Ray, because Ray's my favorite out the crew and always was. And Ray probably has the most important moment, along with Meth and Deck, because Cream.
That was Ricky Harris. That was Ricky Harris, and rest in peace to Ricky Harris as well.
Okay. That was Ricky Harris?
Yep.
Rest in peace. Yeah, he's on too.
Yeah, man. All right, well, we're going to holler at y'all Wednesday. Great checking in with you. About to go check out some football tonight.
Wow, they whack. Who playing? The Bears?
The Bears and the Vikings. I got fantasy football guys out there tonight.
Oh, God. Well, your fantasy is about to be a nightmare if you got players on the Bears and the Vikings, but the Vikings have...
I got Dobbs and Hockenson.
Yeah. Bears have our number 1 pick because we have the worst organization in football and the worst owner in football. So, shout out to Carolina Panthers. Sorry ass owner.